All right, guys, you read the title. You know where we're going with this. OpenAI making a deal with AMD. And to me, this feels like a grand Ponzi scheme. It's not just AMD. I think NVIDIA is involved. I think everybody, I think everybody's involved. Every company that's dealing with AI and is leveraging artificial intelligence from OpenAI, I believe they're all involved in this one big grand Ponzi scheme because they need to add more value. They need to add more value to the company to make it better for the investors, because at some point the chickens are going to come home to roost and the investors are going to want to know where their earnings are. And right now it's just not happening. Hi, my name is Ray Ortega. I'm a software engineer consultant. I work with small businesses and I help build artificial intelligence solutions and automation solutions. I also do a training on how to use AI and automation in your business. And I'm here, and in this video, I just wanted to talk about this new deal that we saw happen this week. So see this deal right here. So OpenAI, AMD, they announced a massive computing deal, marking new phase in AI boom. That's the title. You guys probably saw it. So let me just tell you a little bit about what happened. So I was at a client's office. I came back to my office. I sit down on my couch, turn on CNBC, and I see OpenAI. So OpenAI had their OpenAI development day. In that development day, they were announcing certain new things that they're going to do. So one of them being that they're going to now create an app store so people can build applications and sell applications on top of the OpenAI platform and their models. And that was one thing. The second thing is they talked about all the money that they gave to all these other companies, or they're giving to all these other companies. For instance, he mentioned HubSpot, smart move, HubSpot, big company. He mentioned Salesforce, all these companies that they're partnering with in order to be able to provide OpenAI models to those companies and provide integrations directly to those software platforms. Smart move, again, super smart move. And then the other thing is they talked about this deal with AMD where they got 10% of AMD, 10% of AMD plus put money into AMD in turn. The funny part I think about that whole deal is the fact that when they announced that they were putting 10% into AMD, or they were getting 10% of AMD by putting money in AMD, AMD stocks rose so much that it basically made the money back that they put into AMD already. So they've already got a return on investment for the money they put into AMD. Now, why do I believe that this is one big Ponzi scheme? Probably asking that question. Now, the reason why I believe that is, let me tell you a little bit about what a Ponzi scheme is, and maybe that'll help you understand where I'm coming with this. So Bernie Madoff, big name. If you don't know what it is, type it in, Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff created a Ponzi scheme in New York City. And I've actually seen many Ponzi schemes throughout my lifetime, and they're all basically the same. So what he does, he gets it. So Ponzi scheme is where you get money from investors. And then what you do is you use that money from those investors and you just use it. Like you live a lifestyle, a certain lifestyle. You don't use all the investment money for your business. You put some money aside so that you can have money in the bank. But the problem is you still have to return the investment. You still have to make a return on investment to your investors, or else your investors will walk or they'll question what's going on. So what you do is you get money from more investors, and then you fake that your investments are working, and then you give a return on the investment back to the original investors. So you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're just taking money from one investor and you're giving it to another, but you're not giving all of it. You're taking your cut because you're living a lifestyle that you want to live. That's what a Ponzi scheme is. And then over time, what ends up happening is it keeps rolling over to finally people start asking questions, and then you realize that you never actually were making profit. Your companies weren't profitable or anything like that. But in turn, what you just kept doing is you just kept moving money from company to company, from investment to investment, just so that you can fake to your investors that things are working and things are operating. Now, do I think Sam Altman's doing the same thing? Not really, not to that scale. What I'm saying is that what I'm seeing in the AI world is I'm seeing where you have NVIDIA giving money to OpenAI, OpenAI taking that money and then buying NVIDIA chips off of that. Now, what I find really hilarious is that they made a deal with AMD, which is a competitor to NVIDIA, which is another chip maker. They made a deal with them where they get 10% of the company by giving them money, right? But again, their stock value went up, so they already earned that money back. Now, the app stores, that's a great idea to create an app store. But what he's really doing with the app store is he needs, in order for OpenAI for their models to get better and better, they need more data. And to get more data, you need to have more people inside your ecosystem. Unfortunately, OpenAI is not doing as good as Claude and some of these other engines that are building better models. And so they need more data. So what they did is they're creating a platform that makes people come into their platform and provide more and more data to their platform to hopefully turn it around and make a better model. But at the end of the day, this is where the problem is. The problem is that AI is right now a money suck. It's not generating the profitability that all these investors originally thought. So at some point, you got to make that money back. You got to pay back those investors. So what's going to happen? And I'll tell you this because this has happened over and over again. In 1999, when the internet crash happened, it was because companies realized they had no value. Private companies had no value. After all the investment dollars that they brought in, they weren't able to generate enough profit or net earnings, that's what they call it, to be able to give money back to their investors and then some for the investment that they gave in. So what did they do? They went public. They all filled out for IPOs. They created a bunch of hoopla, a bunch of marketing, a bunch of promotions on the IPO to get the retail traders, which are people like you and me who have an Ameritrade account or Charles Schwab or whatever, where we're not that experienced as investors, but we see the news and we get all excited about what's going on. And so we go into our accounts and we buy a whole bunch of IPOs and a bunch of stocks. There's also institutional investors, same thing. They're human beings just like us. They see the news, they see all this hoopla. What do? They put a lot of money down on these new stocks that are being sold on the market as IPOs. And these happen to be the same AI stocks, or back in 99, it was just regular tech stocks, but now it's AI stocks that are not generating any real profit. So what you're buying is a tanking company as a retail trader with the hopes that it's going to make you money because of the name of the company or because they have a lot of PR or all that stuff. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is you just bought crap. It's like when Facebook first went public, everyone bought it for I think it was $27, something like that. And within a day, it went down to $12 a share. So all those institutional investors and retail traders lost a crap ton of money, more than half their money on the first day of trading after they had bought the stock. And that's what happens. That's the cycle, ladies and gentlemen. When tech companies specifically are not doing very well, and they're not generating any profit to return to their investors, after 5, 6, 7 years, the investors start asking the question, when are we going to get some of our money back? When can we cash out and be able to make some of our money back? So that's the reason why so many people focus so much on valuation of a company over time. Because once a company has a certain value over time, they throw it into an IPO, the retail traders buy out the shares. Now, they're not bought out directly. The retail traders are the secondary market. It's the large investment banks that believe that they can earn so much by selling on the secondary market. They're the ones that make the initial public offering not make the initial, but they make the initial offering to purchase the company shares at a certain value. And then that's what they provide in the IPO. Once they get the value, they release the IPO to the public or to their institutional investors first, the people that are their preferred customers. And then that's how everything gets on the market. And that's how these companies generate the valuations that they need in order to be able to turn around and sell, right? Whether they're selling to the public via IPOs or they sell through acquisition mergers or whatever the case may be, that's how they get their money back, the investors' money back. And that's why I feel this whole deal, everything OpenAI is doing, they're just not creating the value. There's so much money being thrown at OpenAI, they're not creating the value. And so I feel like all of these moves is to add more value to OpenAI just so they could turn around, they could sell it to the public and basically cash out. But who knows if the technology is going to be able to catch up to what was promoted and what was pitched to all of us. And that's my personal take on it. So again, I don't think it's a Ponzi scheme per se, even though it kind of feels like one. I don't think it's a Ponzi scheme per se. But I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of AI companies starting to go IPO just so that they can cash out, because I don't think they see the value in their company as much as they're saying that their value is in the company. And that's my personal opinion. Take it for what it is. If you have any comments about it, put your comments down below, like and subscribe, and I'll check you out in the next video.